I never suggest to invest more than 5 to 10% in any small startup of the portfolio. So your main assets should be EGLD, Bitcoin, Ethereum, big players, Bitcoins with lots of liquidity and less volatility in general. There is a risk on every startup. So never more than 5 to 10% in any, no matter if you like it a lot. The team worked with Panama government to have everything in place, so they are absolutely compliant. Worked also to be compliant on Europe. We have like everything in place with that. Also the tokenomics, I will say that is unique. I have been working and studying tokenomics for 2 years now, and I tried and studied like 100 DeFi platforms. We tried to work on or to study on all the things that didn't work and the things that worked in an isolated way in several projects. We need to understand that this is more like building your wealth for the next 3 years. So it's important to study the projects, to do a proper portfolio risk management. Don't be dumb. Don't go all in on anything, no matter how good it seems. Spread your eggs in several baskets. Ensure passive income, because a good passive income is a good protection. It's a good protection actually. If prices drops, your wealth will suffer less if you are earning more passive income.
Hi guys, it's Armand here from Elrond News now, and we've got Jose from Proteo and a special guest. We're looking forward to see what he's got to say about Proteo and what they do in the Elrond community and blockchain. So to get started, can you tell our audience a bit of background, who you are and what you do?
Hi, thank you for this interview. I'm Jose Aznar from Barcelona. Currently, I do a lot of things, so my background has been more than 20 years. I have been helping startups and entrepreneurships. So mostly on the field of technology, IT, startups, and also with marketing in the marketing industry. So since 4 years ago, was totally absorbed by blockchain culture because I love decentralization, especially with Elrond team and Elrond network was like my house. In the last 3 years, I spent almost all my helping projects on Elrond ecosystem to grow. And currently in the last year, I joined Pro team as an external advisor to help them to build something robust, and that helps a lot of things on Elrond ecosystem that we will see during the interview, I'm pretty sure.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. That's great. And what made you choose Elrond as the blockchain of choice for Proteo?
Well, obviously I love Elrond network, but being pragmatic, I usually recommend Elrond network because it's one of the most secure networks worldwide at the moment on blockchain due to their consensus algorithm. The security proof of stake for me is way more secure than many other consensus mechanisms outside. So the security is pretty important. Also decentralization, that is very connected with the security because with 3,200 validator nodes, we are just below Ethereum 2.0. There is no other proof of stake blockchain with more validators than Elrond, but 2.0 currently. So the third important point is Maiar application. Maiar application is the best onboard application you can have as a startup. So if you are building a Web3 project, Maiar application is something you need to look to help users to reach your application,
That's great. Can you expand a little bit about Proteo Dolphins? I noticed there is a Proteo Dolphins and Proteo. And are you able to share anything on the Proteo DAO at the moment?
Yeah, for sure. If you don't mind, I will first why we created Proteo DeFi.
Yes,
okay, at the project. So we created Proteo DeFi because when we started last summer to prepare on 2021, what we saw at Elrond ecosystem is the SDK tools was just delivered, and then Benjamin and the team pushed the message, it's time to build. So the community started building. They started explaining the Maiar exchange. It was not ready yet, but we started seeing the ecosystem, who will look the ecosystem 6 to 10 months later. And as we assume, it will be plenty of startups. There are more than 200 projects currently on Elrond network, and we have a platform that is Maiar exchange. This platform on the center is like the heartbeat of the DeFi ecosystem on Elrond network that is growing every day. What we think is Maiar DEX needs some other DeFi platforms that helps Maiar DEX itself to grow, okay? Meaning more liquidity, especially more liquidity for those projects that didn't have super big and powerful venture capital firms. Because the projects big enough on Maiar DEX has enough liquidity. We can talk about Ethereum, we can talk about Holoride, all these projects, they have big venture capital investment, and then the liquidity pool is healthy. Okay, we can say healthy because it's 5, 8, 10 million dollars on liquidity each project. But the other projects, there is a lot of projects that has a few liquidity because they are funded by community, for example, and there is not so much resources from the team itself. So the team can put some liquidity, but not all the funds. Otherwise, if they put all the funds, then obviously they will not be able to build the applications itself, the startups itself. So we created Proteo DeFi especially to help all these startups to have a healthier liquidity pools. So Maiar DEX having more liquid assets itself and adding new use cases and utilities to projects that are started. Because at the beginning, startup in blockchain, you raise the capital. The investors want is when they want the product to be built tomorrow. They want the 1 million users tomorrow and all this. So the startups on Elrond ecosystem, they have in most cases a good test from tokenomics point of view, from a strategy, product, and so on. But they need time. And Proteo DeFi plays a key role to add utilities to their tokens, to their NFTs on this period of time while they are building everything. So I think that it was what we guessed that will happen, and actually it happened. So we forecast what will happen 1 year later, and we fit perfect. Actually, Proteo DeFi is helping several projects with a more healthier liquidity. It's running as planned 1 year ago.
I see. So basically, Proteo DeFi was created to really assist Maiar DEX and grow the ecosystem, as you said, because there's only so much resources that the Maiar DEX can handle. And this is where Proteo DeFi comes in, because then they can assist the other projects that haven't had as much of an assistance or perhaps a need of a boost to get them to where they need to be. And that's where Proteo DeFi, as you're saying, is at the moment. Is that correct?
Totally correct.
Fantastic. So we'll go back again now, further on to what you're saying about how Proteo DeFi was created. And as mentioned, there's the Proteo Dolphins. Are you able to share anything on the DAO as well?
For sure. The Proteo Dolphins is something I think that is unique on Elrond ecosystem. More than 200 projects, but I think that we are the only ones with this kind of program. Proteo Dolphins is a program to refund all the investors that help the project to bootstrap. Okay, so Proteo DeFi has one small seed round and then a couple of big private rounds. What we do is a program to refund all this. It's around $2.8 million. Okay, so it will be refunded during the next 3 years. We will start next year if the treasury of the DAO is bigger than $10 million. Actually, I think it's like 6-7 million. So we expect to reach that number, but in any case, will be refunded. It may be delayed 1 quarter, or it will depend on the treasury, but the plan is straightforward to refund every one of the investors that added this money to make possible Proteo DeFi. This is something that the founders, Mario and Esteban, they insisted on creating a refunding program to each and every one of the investors. About the DAO, we have it planned. I think for the first quarter or second quarter of the next year will be ready. We need to end unfolding the project because Proteo DeFi is so complex, has so many components, that actually what we are seeing is a tiny piece of the total unfolded project of Proteo DeFi. So until we unfolded everything, we don't want to spend too much time and resources building the DAO, so it will come later on for sure. This DAO will be important to take decisions always about the future of the project. Proteo DeFi is created for the Elrond ecosystem, for the Elrond community itself. So the community of Proteo DeFi will be the ones that rules the project itself in the next years.
I see. That's something different with what you mentioned. You refund all the investors in Proteo, which I haven't come across any project that actually does that. I think that's really unique in the sense that Proteo actually offers that to investors as an incentive to do that. And then you said as it emerges, it's going to be for the Elrond community and the Elrond investors and the Elrond ecosystem. One thing I found about Proteo is there's so many, as you mentioned, there's so many different things on Proteo. And we encourage everybody to actually have a look at your white paper and what you guys have. There's so many things that Proteo does, and I think people really need to see the potential of where it can go, and I find that really exciting.
Yeah, sometimes I think that it may not seem clear to someone that just land, because you need to read these too much components, so you need to study it a bit to understand the model. Something about the Dolphins refund program, I want to say a couple of things. First, that the refund will be in dollars, so we are not speaking here about printing some tokens and giving the tokens to the investors, but giving them USDC, so a stable coin for their investors. Secondly, this Dolphin program, this refund program, was announced after all the private sales were closed, so no one knows about that. Actually, only the founders and me, we know about that. The team itself, the community managers, no one knew about that. It was a very big secret that we shared, and we announced that after the private sales were done.
Which is really good, because then if you announced it beforehand, obviously you're going to have a lot of people just buying, and it's going to drive the prices up. So really you want people that are invested and wanting to invest in Proteo, and you're rewarding them for doing that. And that's great. What is it that makes Proteo different from other projects of similar nature in Elrond?
Well, I think first of all, on DeFi, the fact that the team is absolutely doxed, so I think that's something important. The team worked with Panama government to have everything in place, so they are absolutely compliant. Worked also to be compliant on Europe. We have everything in place with that. Also the tokenomics, I will say that is unique. I have been working and studying tokenomics for 2 years now, and I tried and studied 100 DeFi platforms. We tried to work on, or to study on, all the things that didn't work and the things that worked in an isolated way in several projects. We tried to fit all these tokenomics strategies that were working on other projects in an isolated way and put the best of everything working together. May not seem obvious at this stage, because we are on a stage that we have the most daily mint, because the tokenomics current maximum supply of Proteo is 20 million, the current supply is 5 million, so the distance between the current supply and the max supply is 15 million. 1,000 part is the daily issuance. So this daily issuance is going down quickly, it is dropping every day, but this is still big. So we are seeing obviously a bit of selling pressure. The market didn't help also, but it's part of what is planned. I mean, we didn't expect other behavior, because the project has not all their utilities unfolded. So the utilities of the tokens needs to be unfolded on the next months. We are on the peak, at the beginning, on the peak of daily issuance. So this is absolutely normal, and we will see the tokenomics performance better on the next months, I'm pretty sure. We also have great partners from Elrond ecosystem that are helping the project itself, including Elrond team. So Elrond team knows perfectly the founders of Proteo DeFi. We have been working with them. Actually, they listed the project on Maiar DEX. We are now working on the process of making it at some point, upgrading it. On Maiar DEX, there are several grades. So upgrading Proteo DeFi, when it happens, it will mean that the people will be able to see the token on the main page, and will be super good. All our partners are super high quality partners that is growing every day. Today, Swap, for example, they announced that they will be the Maiar Launchpad project this month, which is super good. I know Swap team since months ago, and they are partners of Proteo DeFi. We will work on creating products together. So it's just an example of how integrated is Proteo DeFi with the ecosystem.
That's great. Actually, I'm aware of DeFi and other projects. Obviously, you've got Uniswap, PancakeSwap, and it seems that Proteo had combined, as you mentioned, the best of what they have into Proteo DeFi. And in terms of the Elrond ecosystem, the closest I could find really is Swap. It's good to hear that you guys are actually doing something together. There's similarities, but there's big difference as well with what I find with Proteo and Swap. And it's good to hear you guys doing something together.
Yeah, I think that one of the keys is that actually, if you look to other ecosystems like Binance Smart Chain or Polygon, actually there is a common fight field. So people are fighting between themselves. The projects are fighting to get the users of the other platform, to get liquidity of the other platforms, and so on. I think that on Elrond ecosystem, we have something really, really good. I can compare it with Ethereum ecosystem in 2016 and 2017 at the early. If you think on projects, for example, Aave, Curve, actually they work together to make Ethereum better. So this is something that you can see on Elrond ecosystem. And Proteo DeFi itself is created to add value, not to move the value from one side to the other. What we do is we use the same liquidity pools. Imagine they are like disk files on the computer. So we are using the same file extension, the same liquidity pools that Maiar DEX. Doing that, we are adding liquidity. We are not stealing liquidity. And if another project comes, like for example, AppSwap, I'm pretty sure that we will find the way to add more liquidity to their liquidity pools, not moving this liquidity, but adding additional, That's the way Proteo DeFi imagine how a good and healthy DeFi ecosystem needs to grow.
That's something I found with the Elrond blockchain is a lot of the projects seems to work together. As you mentioned, you guys are working together, and when you work together instead of fighting against each other, they seem to have that network effect, and then just sort of multiplies from there. So the many is better than just the one. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. There is the culture of the community established, builds like the road for the next year's evolution. So you can see on other ecosystems what will happen 3 years from now if you evaluate these things. If everything is stealing customers from others and fighting between them, then 3 years from now, they will not be so far. On the other side, on Elrond ecosystem, you can feel it. You can see that projects are building together, searching for new ways to add value, one project to the other and the other way around. So I'm pretty sure that it will build more value on the next 3 years.
That's great. Did you encounter any challenges along the way, and how did you and the team overcome it?
Well, one of the big challenges that we had is that the team, when I knew the founders of Proteo DeFi, they were starting, actually they have developers, they were starting at Binance Smart Chain, and it was a bit tough to tell them, okay, stop everything, you need to rethink that and think about going to Elrond Net. So I helped them to change all the tokenomics. We worked for 10 months on the tokenomics to improve the platform itself and to move from Binance Smart Chain to Elrond Net. Finally, needing to deal with this movement, especially with the investors that were on Binance Smart Chain, was a tricky challenge, very, very hard challenge, but I think we do it well. Every investor of the seed round on Binance Smart Chain is super happy today. They are strong investors. They are for the long term. We know all of them because it's a small group. And actually, I think that was a very good move to do that, to solve that problem.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm just going to get into the specifics now. So if someone bought Proteo tokens today, what can they do with it? Can you expand on the basics, perhaps, of the tokenomics for Proteo?
Yeah, in the short term, what they can do today, first of all, if they buy Proteo, they can stake it. There's an auto-stake pool, and then you get S Proteo. S Proteo is a synthetic asset. It's a token that represents your share on the auto-stake pool, and it grows automatically. So, for example, this is pretty good. We think on the process because not only on Maiar DEX, also in a lot of DEXs, you need to work a lot. Like I need to harvest every day and so on. We think that the platform needs to work for the investors, not the other way, So you stake the tokens and it compounds every day. Okay, you don't need to do nothing on that. So also for tax purposes, think on that. You have an asset that is S Proteo, and maybe 2 years from now you want to sell it and get dollars, for example. You will have a single transaction, this unfolding process to Proteo and then from Proteo to dollars and so on. But from a tax perspective, you are not getting rewards every day. These rewards are inside your asset as Proteo, but you have one single tax event at the end. This is super cool. Also, what you can do with S Proteo, that is the token that has most of the utilities on the platform, is you can set up your Elite or nominee account. These accounts are VIP accounts. So what you have is this kind of premium account of Proteo gives you access to the best service, to the best products. One of the products that the Proteo DeFi community likes more are the single asset farms. This is something that we detected at the beginning of this year when we were building and designing everything. We detected that there is no option to earn passive income from dollars, from USDC. So it wasn't an option. And 10 months later, we are on October, we continue being the best solution for that. that. So people that has USDC, they can earn on Proteo DeFi between 30 and 60% APR, which is super good without impermanent loss. People may think, how is that possible? What kind of, or whatever ugly word you find for that? This is possible because we put limits. That is something that you don't see on DeFi usually. We put limits on the money that people can deposit, which means that for an investor to deposit USDC, you need one S Proteo for each $10 you want to stake. So if you want to stake $1,000, you need 100 S Proteo, you know? And then we created this tiers system, okay? The tier system of Proteo DeFi means that if you are elite, you need 500 S Proteo. If you are elite, you have access to a plenty of services. Below that, you have nominate. Nominate are 250 S Proteo to be nominated. So actually, S Proteo is the key for opening these boxes. As not anyone can access, and there is a limit of deposit, what you don't have is a whale that comes and eats all the rewards. So obviously, if we open the door, what do you think will pay the market? On USDC, I will say that maybe 6% APR. If we open the door, it will enter like $10-15 million inside, and we will give 6% to everyone. So that's the good decision on the design of Proteo DeFi tokenomics, is this kind of limit. So there's like a commitment. People should commit themselves buying their elite account to be part of this, you know?
There's a couple of things that I picked up from what you said. So when you have the actual Proteo and you bought the tokens, obviously you gotta have the S Proteo, this is synthetics. It looks to me that you could actually do a liquid staking on that possibly in the future.
Yeah.
Is that something that...
Exactly, it's liquid staking because your S Proteo are growing with the Proteo index. Proteo index is the relationship between how many Proteos there are inside autostake and what's the supply of S Proteo. This Proteo index grows every day due to the staking rewards. So with this S Proteo, if you, for example, takes a loan and this loan has as collateral S Proteo, your collateral is growing every day. So you have a collateral that is growing because S Proteo is growing itself due to the auto staking, you know?
Yeah, that's something that I picked up. As soon as you guys released the S Proteo, I'm like, wow, this is amazing, because I know that the Elrond team is looking at doing liquid staking, and I don't know, it looks to me that you guys probably do it before they do. So I'm excited about what you guys are doing with it. The other thing that you mentioned was obviously you need to be an elite to be able to participate in some of the tools and opportunities inside Proteo. I noticed that you can invest the EGLD at 50%. I'm like, wow, this is cool, because
yeah, there is a form actually. You put EGLD without impermanent loss and you can earn 50% APR.
Right. I mean, you could get that now with LockMex, but that's LockMex and this is EGLD. And I'm thinking, this is amazing. People need to see these things, and I like, what is this opportunity here? So
actually, people needs to study a bit, you know, because it's not obvious. The S Proteo you are earning with these farms will worth more, in the sense that there is a super scarcity model. S Proteo is the token that has all the utility, like lending, bonds, raffles, access to the farms, the hyper NFTs, a lot of campaigns that we are doing, you can only access with S Proteo. So S Proteo has utility, but I'm pretty sure that the max supply will not reach 3 million never, you know? So it's super scarce, because the more the Proteo index is growing, the less the supply of S Proteo is able to increase, because a new investor comes, he buys some Proteo, and then the supply of S Proteo grows. But as the Proteo index is growing, I know it's a bit complex, but as the Proteo index is growing, the supply of S Proteo is growing super slowly.
The rewards in Proteo is actually getting smaller and smaller as the Proteo gets bigger.
On supply, it is. So the current investors, they are like the kings, you know, because they started so early that it's not about APR. They are earning like 1% of supply every 2 weeks. So they are getting supply that someday this supply is on the current investors. So these investors we look today, that we have close to 3,000 investors, they actually will become whales someday inside Proteo DeFi due to the tokenomics. So these investors will be stronger and stronger over time. This is intended to do. So we want this because these people are from the Dolphins program. What is the Dolphins program? This refund program takes 3 years. So people inside Dolphin are strong believers on Proteo DeFi model. So how can we reward these believers? With a model that increase their share, because the more supply you put in the hands of these people, the safer will be the project in the next decade.
I'm excited. This is cool. There are several strategies in the Proteo DeFi Suite. Can you briefly describe some of them? You don't have to describe all of them, but maybe some that you think are very important.
Yeah, well, there are several users. We have the Proteo DeFi channel on Telegram, but also Proteo DeFi Underground, that is more about strategies and price discussions and so on. I know that some users, for example, part of their portfolio, they have USDC on the single farm staked, and they have Eagle on the Eagle farm without impermanent loss. What they are doing is when they think on the swings that the market is doing, when they think the price is spiking and will go down, they sell a part of this Eagle to USDC and move the assets from one farm to the other farm to continue having this passive income. When the price drops on Eagle, they use this USDC. They have been earning a 50% APR. They use this USDC to buy Eagle. So you have a super good passive income plus the swing trading. It is a super good strategy. Other investors, they are using the rewards they get, the S Proteo, to unfold so you can unstake the S Proteo. Then you have Proteo and they add liquidity. With this Proteo, what they do is they add liquidity to Proteo Eagle LP farms. Proteo Eagle LP farms are one of the most interesting ways, 150% APR. So people are compounding the rewards to add liquidity to Proteo Eagle LP farms. Also, some users that they have, for example, say that I'm a strong investor on Aerobank. What I do is every time I get S Proteo, I compound the rewards with my tokens to create more liquidity, because there is a good APR on the farm of Aero. So people are compounding rewards to add liquidity. Adding liquidity on Proteo always rewards you. It is one of the keys. So this is some of the strategies. Also, other users, they are saving S Proteo because they understand how scarce it will become, and they understand that earning 10 S Proteo today may seem easy, and earning 10 S Proteo 3 years from now will be super tough because the tokenomics and the scarcity. So a lot of users, they are accumulating S Proteo like crazy, to have a big chunk of the supply on the next years.
Yeah, it looks like Proteo has implemented the Bitcoin
similar to the halving.
Yeah, when the more people get involved in it, it gets more scarce and the rewards are getting smaller. You get the halving. I mean, there's no halving in Proteo, but it looks like it just gets scarce every day.
For sure. All the burning mechanics, we have a lot of burning mechanics to reduce the supply.
Now, there's another question that I have just from your answer before. When someone converts the S Proteo to a Proteo, would it be best to, I suppose it depends on your strategy. What's the better way? Would it be to keep it as Proteo or S Proteo?
For sure, for the long term, S Proteo is best to keep it as S Proteo. I would say that I myself only unfold some S Proteo if I want to build Eagle Proteo LPs. So I think that selling Proteo at the current prices doesn't make too much sense from an investment point of view. I think that it's better to build LPs in case you want to compound that, or saving the S Proteo, because now it seems like it never comes. The communities went hyper NFTs from Proteo. Suddenly it will come. We will launch all the marathons and missions, the program missions. So there's a lot of campaigns, and for each campaign you will need S Proteo. So if you want to earn money, you will need S Proteo. So some of the people that are selling S Proteo now maybe will regret 1 month from now, you know what I mean? So it's better to save it for the campaigns. I think it's one of the best strategies.
Yeah, no, I got it. I know the APRs for the farms are quite high, even with the LockMex and the MEX exchange and the Maiar exchange. There's something that people need to realize is also that there is the impermanent loss if they are looking at doing that. However, do you find any sort of volatility in the actual farms in Proteo?
Well, we have a mechanism because on DeFi there are some kinds of attacks, but some vectors, or for some players like on PancakeSwap, it happens usually, is when someone enters $1 million in liquidity, then suddenly removes it on the proper time, like 5 minutes later, this kind of attacks. And maybe they earn 0.2 25% of the operation. It's a lot of money because it is $1 million, but it's a very small percentage. So what we have done is there is a big fee that is for the burning mechanics. There is a big fee on the withdrawal of liquidity. So if you deposit liquidity in the first day, we will get 3% fee if you remove this liquidity. Then some days more, 2%, some days more, 1%, and after 20 days, you have 0% for removing liquidity. We ensure that if you enter, it's not for playing. It's because you understand LPs and you want to participate and buy liquidity for the long term.
That's good because that discourages people gaming the system. Now, I know that DeFi strategies are there, so each person can pick and choose what they'd like to do or use according to their risk profile or investment strategy. Personally, I usually have a long-term strategy, so I look for projects and tokens that I believe will be there long-term after doing my due diligence. And as a matter of transparency to our audience, I have Proteo tokens from your first pre-sale and currently have them staked on Proteo Elite, and will make the most of the Proteo Dolphins, so I'll be holding on to them for a very long time. Now folks, I just want to clarify that we do not provide any financial advice in this program, nor do we ask you to buy or sell anything, and we do not sell anything here either. We have nothing to sell. We just want to provide information to you to help you in your journey towards the Elrond ecosystem. So don't take any of the information here as financial advice. Please seek your financial advisor for your investment needs as necessary. Now that's out of the way, I have informed you of what I'm doing right now with my Proteo tokens and my strategy. My question is, if you are starting out and you found out that Proteo DeFi today, done your research and found out all of the things that Proteo offers, and eventually bought the Proteo tokens, what would be your strategy to make the most of your investment?
Okay, it's a good question. I think that if I come from fresh now to Proteo DeFi, due to the current APRs and so on, it depends on my portfolio. I never suggest to invest more than 5 to 10% in any small startup of the portfolio. So your main assets should be EGLD, Bitcoin, Ethereum, big players, Bitcoins with lots of liquidity and less volatility in general. There is a risk on every startup. So never more than 5 to 10% in any, no matter if you like it a lot. I like a lot Proteo DeFi, but it's important, this fact. I see people like, I'm all in. That's a really poor strategy, you know? So once you know what you can invest on Proteo, it depends. If this 5 to 10% of your portfolio can reach an elite, then you are lucky. By an elite, you will enjoy a lot of perks, a lot of benefits of being elite. Is the maximum you will want. If you cannot afford that, I suggest to try to add liquidity with some other projects that you like to earn S Proteo. Maybe buying a nominee if you can reach this 250 S Proteo, or maybe you just buy 100 S Proteo and earn the rest adding liquidity. That's a good strategy also. Adding liquidity, especially on bear markets, is a very good strategy long term for portfolio strategy. If I, for example, like IRO token, or you know, if I like other projects like ZoiPay, for example. So I like ZPay, I like EGLD. Why not invest in my dollars? Because we think on dollars, we need dollars. That's a fact. So why don't invest, I don't know, $1,000 on ZPay plus EGLD in an LP and look at that as an asset itself. The asset are the LPs, and it's a good asset because it's an asset that will perform well if EGLD and or ZPay grows. If we expect growth in the next 2 years of these assets, why don't mix them? I think that most of the people are scared by permanent loss and so on because they are thinking sometimes on EGLD. Like, I have 50 EGLD, I don't want to lose EGLD. So if I create an LP, maybe I gain with less EGLD due to the impermanent loss. But if you think on dollars, especially on bear markets, for me it's nothing like a good LP because you are earning good passive income plus the increase of the assets itself.
It's interesting. That's something to think about for sure. Now I'm going to throw a curveball here for you. What's your favorite DeFi strategy out of all of them?
This one, I like to have 10% of my portfolio on dollars. So I personally enjoy the single asset farms of USDC. I love the fact that I can get the money at any point because the USDC farm has not any claim waiting time. So if I see something, I can get the money at 1 minute or 50 seconds and use it. So I like to have this USDC plus the LPs. At some point, maybe, who knows, we have a super red candle and EGLD is at $46. It happened last week. I was able to use my dollars just in that moment. In this moment, I see the chart, what was happening happening, for me was easy to do. It didn't have any waiting time. So it's a mix. I would say that the strategy is having some permanent assets, mostly liquidity pools. I like the liquidity pools in this bear market, plus these dollars to play around if you see an opportunity.
That's awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share that you believe is important to share with our audience?
Well, I think that Proteo DeFi and the Elrond ecosystem itself is in a point that is really interesting, amazing times. There's been a lot of things building, not only on Proteo DeFi, but us on its partners. The moment the market is what it is, so we cannot expect tomorrow 5x investment. It will not happen. So we need to understand that this is more like building your wealth for the next 3 years. So it's important to study the projects, to do a proper portfolio risk management. Don't be dumb. Don't go all in on anything, no matter how good it seems. Spread your eggs in several baskets. Ensure passive income, because a good passive income is a good protection. It's a good protection, actually. If prices drops, your wealth will suffer less if you are earning more passive income,
That's great. How can people find out more about Proteo?
Well, we have all the tokenomics explained in docs.proteodefi.com. Also, we have the Telegram channel, which is super active on Proteo DeFi on Telegram and on Twitter. We are also on Twitter with Proteo DeFi handle.
That's great. So if anyone wants to find out more about Proteo DeFi, go to proteodefi.com. White paper is at docs.proteodefi.com. They can find you on Twitter. Be very active in Telegram as well. So I encourage everybody to have a look at Proteo DeFi. I'm so glad I had this opportunity to interview you, Jose, because I've had a little bit more knowledge from what I've researched before, and it's much deeper now. And I encourage people to actually find out more about Proteo, because once you find out about it, and I hope this video will help people out there researching on it, that the possibilities and the opportunities in Proteo is amazing. I'm glad for what you guys do to help the Elrond community and boost the Elrond ecosystem. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for your time, and I want to respect your time. So thank you very much.
Thanks to you. Thanks to you for this opportunity. Thank you very much for